Okay, hello. Welcome, TLC, to our webinar series. Tonight we have brought in Chris from New York, Chris Winfield from New York, who runs Super Connector Media. And I met him a few weeks ago at a networking event, or maybe a couple months now. Man, time flies. But just meeting him and seeing how authentic he was and really what he does for entrepreneurs and business owners to become their brand, to share their brand, and truly also step into their authenticity when it comes to PR and media, I thought was really unique, because I know we've all seen those media and PR and marketing initiatives that seem so fake and are just not us. So I wanted Chris to come on to share with you how you can truly build a brand and increase sales through your marketing and PR initiatives. So I'm going to intro Chris now. So Chris, take it away and tell the ladies who you are and what you do.
All right, perfect. So thank you, Vanessa. Great to see you. And I'm excited to teach about publicity. I love helping people get their message out there and really build their business and their legacy through publicity. So we're going to talk about going from FOMO to famous and 5 important truths you need to know about publicity. All right.
Can I ask a question about that? So now, Chris, like, we live in this society where everyone wants to be famous. As a PR and marketing expert, how do you feel like that is changing the landscape and what people are doing?
Yeah, so when we talk about famous, and I'm going to get into it in a little bit, it's not about being like Kim Kardashian famous. It's about being that recognized expert in your niche, in your field. So if you're a specific type of coach, that you're the person that the media is thinking about, that the best clients are thinking about, that's the kind of famous. So I'm going to get into that. So yeah, don't worry, I'll answer your question. All right, so this is me on Insta. If you're on Instagram, you can follow me at Chris Winfield. And I am the co-founder of a company called Super Connector Media, where we do PR differently. And I'll talk about that a little bit, but it's really where we're really focused on relationships and connection and getting the most out of every single piece of media that you get. We also run an event called Unfair Advantage Live. I'll give out the link for that towards the end. We do that twice a year in New York City, where it really is about connecting entrepreneurs, not only to the media. We'll have like 120 people at the media mixer, meaning 120 of the top media people in New York City and the world, but also to an amazing tribe. So they call me the Super Connector. And one thing for me to say that Super Connector, and you might be like, okay, well, I'm not sure who calls that. I know he named his company that. But the power of the media is like when I'm on Fox and they're calling me the Super Connector, or when I'm in NBC News, then they're calling me the Super Connector. Then you're like, wow, all right, I get it. It's actually a real thing. One of my favorite quotes, and by the way, if this was a drinking game and it came up as one of my favorite quotes, and every time I said that you'd have to drink, you'd be really drunk by the end of this. So I love quotes. But there's a quote by a guy named P.T. Barnum, and P.T. Barnum once said, without publicity, a terrible thing happens. Nothing. Now, just as a quick side note, this is what P.T. Barnum actually looked like. Now, if you've ever seen Vanessa or Nicole, have you guys seen The Greatest Showman?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what the Hollywood version of P.T. Barnum looked like, and that's what P.T. Barnum looked like in real life. So we'll stick, since this is the ladies' webinar, we will stick with this version. So without publicity, a terrible thing happens, nothing. And what that means is if you don't get your message out there, if people don't know about you, it doesn't matter how good you are, how unbelievable your service is, whatever, nobody's going to find out and nothing's going to happen. So these are some of the things that I've been in, just about any newspaper, magazine, TV show you can imagine. And one of the things that's powerful with the media is it gives you instant recognition. So I show you NBC News, I show you these things, and you're like, oh, wow, all right, this guy must actually know what he's talking about, rather than me just showing you some random testimonials from John S. or Jane Doe or anything like that. So media gives you instant recognition. This is one of our clients, a woman named Amy Lacey. So this is she started a company called Cauliflower Foods. We helped her go from a $4 million company to now a $75 million company in, I guess it's just under 2 years. And if you look at, here's her on her homepage for Cauliflower Foods, they created these cauliflower pizza crusts, but you see CNBC, Dr. Oz, The View, etc., because that gives people instant recognition and sets her apart from all the other ones that haven't been able to get that. As a friend of mine, Neil Patel, is one of the smartest marketers in the world, and this is his little bio. And in the 4 lines here, he mentions New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Entrepreneur Magazine. Why? Because that gives instant credibility. And it's not just some random influencer calling them that. It's the Wall Street Journal, which has been around for hundreds of years. And then it gives somebody a whole different understanding. Here's an example for me. So my parents would always like come over to my house, and I live in New York City and I have 2 apartments, and they would come over and they'd be like, wait, what do? You connect people? Like, I don't understand that. And they didn't understand like how I made money or anything, that what PR is, because a mainstream normal person doesn't know what the heck that is. And I can't explain to them, oh, I do this and I, have events and blah, blah, blah. But then all of a sudden they see me on TV, or their friends see me on TV, and they're like texting me and saying, oh, Chris, you're so successful. We're so proud of you. Nothing changed other than their perception. And it's such an important thing for you guys to remember, is that's one of the biggest roles of the media. Another one of my favorite sayings, advertising is what you pay for. Publicity is what you pray for. Advertising is what you pay for. Publicity is what you pray for. So you can put all the money that you want into Facebook ads and all these other things, but if there's nothing that can beat unbelievable publicity. So let me take it all the way back, because now it's easy for me to talk about all the different things that I've been on, and and I have a whole team and all these different things to help make it easier and easier. But the reason and how I got into and discovered the power of publicity was back in 2003. I started my first company. I was not meant to be an entrepreneur. I did not come from an entrepreneurial family. I did not grow up thinking I'm going to be an entrepreneur or anything like that. I had one job and I learned everything not to do from that job, and I wound up leaving and starting my own company. Now, actually, I want to show you. It didn't look like this, but this was the company. It was called 1020 Web Design. And it was called 1020 because the numbers would come up before letters in directories and things like that. So I'd be at the top. Now, it was a web design and search engine optimization company, me and 3 million other people. But here's a few of the problems that I had. I had no money. I had no connections. And, there's 50 million other web design agencies. And that might be like slightly exaggerated, but I think you guys can understand. You probably have lots of different coaches in your community. There's 18 zillion coaches in the world. Like, I can throw a rock out my window and hit a coach. And that's great news and terrible news. It's great news because it means that there's a market, but it's terrible news because you're also having to, if you're not good or if you're not able to differentiate yourself, it's not going to be helpful. So that was the issue that I found myself in. So Richard Branson, you guys know Richard Branson, correct? He talked about this, and it was something that I thought about, but publicity is absolutely critical. A good PR story is infinitely more effective than a front page ad. So I thought about for myself, and I knew that whenever I saw somebody on TV or I read about somebody in a magazine or anything like that, I always wanted to them. Started to think about how can I make that happen for myself, and I started to learn everything I could about PR and try to build connections And I wound up getting in this article. So this is June 22nd, 2003. And it was right around the time that remote working was just starting to become a thing. And I got in this article and they mentioned my company. And the cool thing about that was now I could have this on my website. I could use this to leverage other things. I could have that social proof that most other web design companies didn't have. And this helped me to land some deals and things like that. But more importantly, it got me to this the next year. So USA Today was at the time was the most widely read newspaper in the world. And I got in this article. Now this one mention, this one little paragraph right there that arrow points to was worth over $1.8 million. And I'll explain why. So there was direct ROI. So this is like the direct ROI from publicity. It can lead to exact sales. So clients, this one client, a division of Virgin, became a client. They spent about $1.8 million over 3 years with us. Referrals from that client. So I got other people as a result of that client. I was able to use that client as a case study, which got me other business. I worked with other divisions of Virgin as a result. Now, just as important though is the invisible ROI. So this is what really matters when it comes to publicity, is I wound up getting in 30 plus more articles with the same exact USA Today reporter because I treated them really good. I treat every reporter, every person like they're my best friend. I'll go out of my way for them. So when I posted this, by the way, last year on Facebook, he wound up responding and saying, glad the quote paid off for you. So I'm always like thinking he's going to send me a bill or something like that, but hopefully not. So 30 plus more articles with him, introductions to other USA Today reporters. So people like to do business. They like to use sources of people that have already been in a newspaper, magazine, television show, whatever. Social proof, being able to say, as seen in USA Today, I was considered an expert now. It wasn't just me saying I'm an expert. It's USA Today. It's all these other places calling me an expert. I had speaking engagements as a result. And perhaps most important for me was more trust and ins with other media people. It was the tipping point for so much of that. All right. Questions so far?
You might get there. Do you have a tip for people that are looking to make those connections, and how do you nourish those connections so that you do have those long-standing relationships? Because someone might get in an article and then nothing happens.
Well, all right, cool. We'll get there on the connection side, and we'll also get there a bit on the nurture side. All right, so my mission is really simple, and this is going to answer one of your questions from earlier. So our mission with our company is helping take people from feeling like a fraud, so, and not meaning like an actual fraud, but imposter syndrome. I'll talk a little bit about imposter syndrome in a moment, and having this feeling of FOMO. And when we talk about FOMO, it's not about missing out on a party or an event or anything like that. It's that feeling in your gut when you see somebody that does the same thing as you, and there may be a colleague, maybe a competitor, maybe a friend, maybe somebody in your company, who knows, but you see them getting in the media, you see them on TV, you see them speaking at conferences, and you know you're better than them. You know it should be you, but there's something holding you back. That's that feeling of FOMO that we look to eradicate. So it's really simple. We want to help people go from feeling like a fraud to feeling fulfilled, to loving what they do, and having that feeling of FOMO to being famous. And when we talk about famous, as I mentioned at the top, it's really about being famous in your niche, in your industry, being that recognized expert, that industry leader, the person that the media calls, the person that gets all the great gigs, that gets invited to speak at all the best conferences. That's the type of famous that we're after. But as I just alluded to, so many people, especially like the people that come to us, they have this horrible entrepreneurial disease. And this has been classified as a disease by the World Health Organization. Just kidding. So it's imposter syndrome. And this is actually a real study. So just so that you know, the types of people who actually have imposter syndrome, it's everybody. All the smart, successful people that you think have their shit together, they all have it. So just remember that. So for me, for the last 6+ years around creating this event, everything, but even way before, because this company is less than 2 years old, I have met with at least one person every day, no matter what. So I was just doing an interview this morning in Washington, D.C., talking about this. And it's this thing where I just wanted to start meeting with people and being open, talking about things that I failed at, talking about different things, because I'd had a company that I got completely disconnected from, and I got completely disconnected from people. And one of the biggest things around this was I stopped looking for what I could get and started figuring out how I could help, how I could actually help people. And my mission is really simple. It's helping people to understand and start using this question more and more in their lives. What do you need help with right now? What do you need help with right now? And I do that anywhere that I go. So we do dinners, we do speaking, everything. And it's always based around this idea of what do you need help with right now? So anywhere I am. So we just did a dinner party in Los Angeles. Lots of different influencers, lots of different amazing people. Every single person has to get up and answer that question. What do you need help with right now? So that's the first thing I want you to take away, is to start remembering and using that. So to not make it about yourself and start thinking about what you can do to be of service for people. So one of the biggest things that I found, and the secret to all this stuff and where this business came from, is connections make everything easier. So the more connections you have, the closer those connections are, the easier everything becomes. And a lot of times we think that developing relationships, creating relationships, showing up for people is really, it's a lot of work, but trust me, it is the shortcut. It's something I can take out my phone and make something happen in 30 seconds that can take you 6 months just because of that connection to the person. This is why we created this event, Unfair Advantage Live, is because around helping people to create unbelievable connections, again, not just with the media, but also with other entrepreneurs. All right, let's get right into some things. 5 important truths you need to know about publicity. And I'm going to teach you how to then create these connections, how to get clear about stuff. But for us, just as important as anything is helping people to overcome the mindset piece, because that's what holds so many people back from truly putting themselves out there. And the first thing to know is that the media needs you as much as you need them. I'm going to say it again. The media needs you as much as you need them. It's not a zero-sum game. It's a win-win, because they have so much content that they need, and you can be the answer to that for them. Here's a great example of this. This was a woman named Marla Mattinson who came to my first event ever, and I got this message into her, and she was going back, and she was flying home. She was flying first class on JetBlue, sitting in Mint, and she starts talking to this guy, and she's helping him, and he winds up asking her, oh, so what do you do? And she explains that she's one of the top coaches for entrepreneurial couples in the world. And he looks at her and he says, oh, wow, that's really interesting. And she said, why? What do you do? He said, well, I'm the president of CBS in Los Angeles. And she said, so since she now started to believe that the media needs her just as much as she needed them, she looks at him and says, hey, I would love to be on CBS in Los Angeles. I live in Los Angeles. And he said, all right, cool. We'll make it happen. Boom, here she is. And she's then wound up coming back and, leveraging that for other appearances on other places. So the media needs you as much as you need them. All right, number 2, nobody is out of your league. This is very, very important. The moment you put someone on a pedestal, they will look down upon you. The trick is respecting each other equally. So it's so unbelievably important to remember this, because it's really easy into thinking that if the media or somebody's an influencer, if somebody's a celebrity, that they're somehow better or that you should put them on a pedestal. That's not the case. You have to remember that the media needs you as much as you need them, and that people are people are people are people. Very, 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 very important. Number 3, promotion isn't gross. It's your responsibility. So where this comes from is a lot of people struggle with the idea of self-promotion. They struggle with talking about themselves. They struggle with that whole idea of, I don't want to brag, I don't want to come across. Well, here's the thing. If you don't, nobody's going to know about what you do. And also something to remember, if you're listening, if you're watching this, and that idea comes to your mind, and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to come across as a bragger. That is the test. That means you never, because a bragger, somebody who just loves to brag about themselves, they never think that. That's not even a question in their mind. They're just like, okay, I'm going to brag. So here's an example of this. This is one of our clients, Maggie Berghoff. And Maggie is a coach, and she's a functional nurse practitioner, and she does a whole bunch of things. So this was her first time that she was ever on TV. We got her booked on a segment. It was like a Saturday morning segment because she was going to be in San Diego, and she went on, and it was great. So this is a Facebook post that she did afterward. And this part's cool. She talked about, I've been flooded with applications for people wanting to work with me based on my interview. So I loved hearing that. I really liked hearing this part. And the stories they're telling me of how my segment impacted them is amazing. Lots of people watching the show at home legit crying over how much it resonated with them. All right, so all that's great. But the part that I absolutely loved so much was this. She understood this is my responsibility. She hadn't thought of it that way. So once you start thinking about your message and about getting that out there to people that need it and that it's your responsibility, everything will change. So just remember that. That's how I felt when I saw that. Amazing. And here she is. That's what the next time she was just about to have a baby. She now has that baby. All right. That was that baby's first time on television. I didn't know it though. Number 4. Your mess is your message. Your mess is your message. So what do I mean by that? It means that a lot of times, and I especially see this a lot with people, is that they hold back from sharing the parts of their story that aren't perfect. So the struggles, the things that they're afraid of, these different parts. And the problem with that is that nobody's perfect. People resonate, people relate to people who are real people. And it's important for you to share the messy parts of your story. And not just to share it just to hopefully get some sales or anything like that, but you share it because it's going to help somebody else and get more people to connect with you. So your message, your message. I'll give you an example of this. So this was one of our clients, a guy named Scott Oldford. And when I first started working with him, he said to me, he's like, hey, I have this like one thing that I'm never going to share. I was like almost $750,000 in debt. And it's it's such a scary thing for me. I don't want people to find out about it. I was like, oh, cool. That's what we're going to pitch to people. And he was like, no, I can't do that. No one's ever going to want to work with me. I'm like, yes, because it shows that you have perseverance, that you are able to overcome. And so here's an article that got featured in Inc. And it's right there in the headline, how this 25-year-old went from over $700,000 in debt to building a multi-million-dollar empire online. And this was such a powerful article for him, not just from a business perspective, but also from a mindset perspective, because it allowed him to release this. But check this out. So this was published on May 2nd. So on May 4th, I get some text from him, and he's not busy. And he writes to me, I did get what looks like a private one-on-one client from that article. And I was like, fucking awesome. And he said, yeah, about $150,000 for the year. So within 2 days from that article where it talked about that he was $700,000 in debt, he gets a $150,000 a year client. Your message, your message. People don't care. This person didn't say, oh, I'm never going to hire him because he was that much in debt. No, he wanted what his expertise, he knew his perseverance, et cetera, et cetera. Your message, your message. Okay, number 5, and this is good news. You already have the connections you need. So a lot of times people think, well, how do I find, I got to join this, or I got to do this to get connections to get in the media. So this is one of the things that you were talking about, Vanessa. So just a quick reminder, your network is your network. So how do you value that? If you don't value it, cultivate it, nurture it, it becomes worthless. If you do value it, it becomes priceless. So I think of my network as something that is so unbelievably important. That's why with our event, every person that comes is vetted. So they have to go through an application and an interview process, just so that we make sure that they're really good people, because I'm opening them up to my entire network. So I have a tool that I'm going to teach you guys that's going to help you uncover the diamonds in your network. So let's think about it in terms of media. So the goal is to get more media. So this tool is called your top 20. And it's really, really simple. And you can grab this right on my website, chriswinfield.com. There's a little, there's like a little opt-in where you can grab this, but you don't even need it, because all you really need is a piece of paper and a pen. So what you're going to do is just simply brainstorm a list of 20 people, and it can be more than 20, and it should be more than 20, but 20 people that can potentially help you get media. So is it somebody that is a contributor for Entrepreneur? Is it somebody that's a producer or host or something in a local news station? Is it somebody that has a podcast? Think about all the different people in your network. Think about, and when I say network, it's not just thinking about the people that are in your business network. It's your entire life network from the time you're a little kid. So it can be parents, it can be kids you grew up with, it can be whatever. You think about all these different people and you just write them down. Then in the next column, you're going to give them a score 1 to 10. How influential are they? So let's say it's somebody who writes an article, who is a contributor, or let's say it's somebody who's a producer. They're pretty influential when it comes to actually being able to help get you media. So you're going to give them a high score, let's say a 9. Now, the next column is how likely are they to help you? So let's say it's somebody you met one time and you didn't even really have that great a conversation. So they're probably going to be a 1 or a 0 in terms of how likely they are to help you. Now, let's say it's your best friend growing up who just so happens to be a talent booker for CNN. And so they're probably going to be a 9 or a 10 to help you. So you just create this list and then you total them up. And then all you're going to do is contact one person each day for the next 20 days. Now, this is a really powerful thing. And if they have a high score in terms of how likely they are to help you, then what you can do is just ask them. Go straight out with the ask. And the thing to remember about asking people, because a lot of people have trouble asking people for help, is how good does it feel when you help somebody that you care about? It feels great, right? So think about that for somebody else. Give them that gift. Now, if it's somebody who has a low score of likelihood to help you and they're barely an acquaintance, you're going to have to cultivate and nurture that relationship. So you can't just come out and ask them. They're going to ignore you. You have to figure out what you can do to potentially help them. Maybe it's just setting up a call to get to know them, whatever it is, but you're going to have to warm that relationship up and nurture it. So this is what you were talking about earlier, Vanessa. So I met Vanessa at Archangel. It's a huge thing in Canada. And this is the founder, Giovanni, and he had come to my event, and he did this. He did that exercise, and then he wound up being able to get a spot in writing his first time in getting an Entrepreneur magazine. Here's another person from Archangel who came to our event, Tamara Arnold, and she wound up, before she even came to the event, she did this exercise that I taught her, and she wound up getting booked on local news because her dad happened to be like a producer. She didn't even think about it. So it's so unbelievably simple. You just have to remember to go back through and create that list. So think about all the different people that you know. All right, let's bring it all together and show you how this works. So what we talk about, building win-win relationships, value, showing up for people, being able to create these amazing messaging and everything for yourself, and leverage, then getting that out all over the place. So let me explain to you how. So here's an example. This was something I get a text message, or sorry, a Facebook message one night, and it said, "This is wild, but your Fox News spot came on my TV while you were live." So I was doing a Facebook Live, and this guy, I come up on Fox, I was on Fox Extra, all the way in Israel. I was not in Israel. It was something I'd done a long time ago. "Well done, Chris." And I said, "Ha, amazing." So here's what he was watching. Oh, by the way, just so that if you're ever worried about like being an expert, they call me a communications expert here. I am not a communications expert, and especially when it comes to like talking about feelings or anything like that, this is the face that my girlfriend makes whenever they describe me as a communications expert. So anyway, here's me doing my Facebook Live. He's watching me on Fox on TV, and he said, "Hey, I had a thought. I'm working on and then I wound up doing a few hours on the phone with him, and he sent me $12,500. Now, it was just from being top of mind and being able to bring it all together like that. Last quote, this is it. You can have everything in life you want if you will just help enough other people get what they want. It's by the late Zig Ziglar. All right, so for anyone who wants to go further, wants to learn more about what we do, go to this URL, unfairadvantagelive.com. That is the next event is on there. It sells out early. It's really, really powerful. And that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Every time I hear you speak, Chris, I'm always like, man, I need you guys. This is so fun. Yeah, you word it so well, but also giving so much value. I really like your approach, because I'm not sure if anyone else listening to this has had the same experience, but I haven't had the best experiences with people in PR and media. And so I really like the way that you've built your company, really looking to help others and then help other people by them getting in the media.
Yeah, and that was the case, because I'm not a PR person. I'm not like, I have amazing PR people, but it's so many people kept telling me over and over that I had terrible experiences. I don't know how to do it. The media just completely baffles me and all these. So I just want to make it really simple for people and see. And, so many of these principles apply to all different parts of business, over and over. And I think the easier that we make things, the better our results are.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think my mind is just like swirling. I don't even know if I have any other questions. Nicole, do you have any questions, or anyone else that's on live right now? I think you gave us so much valuable content. I just want to go write my 20-person list now.
Do it. Yeah, that's what I'd love. So when you post this, I'd love for you to do a challenge around doing the top 20 exercise, and let me know what happens as a result, because I will tell you this, nobody that has ever done it and actually followed through has person has got results. Every single person has got media coverage, and it's usually well before they get to the 20th person.
Yeah, very cool, awesome. Well, I don't need to make this go any longer than it needs to. I think everything provided was awesome, and we'll definitely be in touch. I'll keep you updated, and I'll also post the Unfair Advantage link for Chris's event, and then you can also reach out. Chris and Chris also works with people one-on-one. So if you can't make the event, maybe not Chris specifically will work with you, but within his team, yeah, you don't do that one anymore. But he has a team that will help you to get all of this stuff as well. So if that's a fit for you and your business, please reach out, chat with them. I actually spoke with Tori also, and they do amazing things for companies. So reach out, and I'm sure they'll be able to help you get your goals and bring in the revenue that you need and help the people that you're looking to help. So yeah, thanks so much, Chris. I really appreciate you taking the time to share with our community today.
Definitely.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, see you later.
Definitely.
Yeah, good luck with your house.
Thanks. Bye.